Alright guys, thank you so much for being here on my channel. Welcome back. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm doing a celebrity psychic reading on our beloved Avicii. I believe I pronounced his name right. He was a Swedish producer and DJ, and he passed away this week. So I want to go ahead and talk about what I picked up intuitively. I'm going to be tapping into the medium side of myself and giving you the messages that I'm receiving from Spirit and also from him. Very sad, about his passing. Such a young, beautiful soul, and he contributed a lot to the music industry, and to the world with his, his DJing skills and his talent. Overall, what I pick up from him is that he had a pretty difficult life here on earth, more so than other musicians would have. I did get that, from a very young age he felt out of place. He would be what we would consider like a starseed person, a starseed child. Basically, he was brought into the earth, and what I get is that he had a life purpose, which was to be an entertainer and entertain other people and in the world, and provide them with a loving, environment, and one that they can, feel good about, the music that he produced and all of that. So he definitely lived out his life purpose, even though it was shortly lived, and he did pass before his time. Now, there has been a lot of speculation as to whether or not, that's the pressing question when I asked Spirit and I asked Avicii, whether or not his passing was suicide, or if he was murdered. And what I get from his energy is that, yes, he was sort of depressed. He did have some issues going on, in his life, but as far as this being a suicide, I don't see that this was a suicide. And there's many reasons why I'll say this, because when you tune into a person, you can tell that they're hurting. He had all the signs. Yes, that's what, the media lets us know through the, like I said, they allow us to see only what they want us to see. And so they would, yes, publish stories about, him being depressed, on drugs, or, having alcohol problems, and, and a bad health. And it was reported that he had pancreatitis. He had his appendix removed, so he had several health issues, which forced him out to take kind of like a sabbatical out of the music industry, out of doing his shows and whatnot. So he did take a rest. So that part, I do see that is true, but I just don't see that he would be the type to take his life. Yes, he said he could tell many times. He was very intuitive, as you can tell if you look into his eyes very closely at other photographs. You can tell he had like a deep stare. Basically, his soul was very enlightened, and he could sense pain. He was a very deep empath, and he could sense pain, and he felt like when you're about to either pass, however you're going to pass into the spirit realm, we often do feel like a premonition, or we have a sense that we are going to pass at a certain age. Sometimes we know years before, sometimes we know days before, sometimes it may be hours before we pass or get ready to pass outside, and exit from our physical body into the spirit realm. I do feel like he felt like he was surrounded by the wrong people. The people that, were his managers, his producers, I don't feel like they had his best interest at hand. And a lot of them just let him do whatever he wanted. Many times he wanted to quit drinking. He wanted to stop and, clean up his life. And with his health scares, he had to, do that. But the temptation was still there. And like I said, a lot of these things can be easily manipulated by the record industry, by the music industry, by the people that are in power and position. And for them, they really don't care about the person as a human being. They see them as a money-making machine. And they often say that when an artist like Avicii, or any other artist in Hollywood is dead, basically, they're worth more dead than alive. And that is so sad, but that is the case. And the reason that I feel like we're entering an era as well that is more spiritually awakened souls are tuning in more and finding out, that this is not something that's, when we look at cases like Michael Jackson, we look at cases like Whitney Houston, we look at cases like Prince, we look at cases like even Marilyn Monroe. It's always, in a lot of these cases, there's a lot of, blame on the artists. They're dead now. They're past. They can't defend themselves here in the physical world. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, they had addictions. And it's like we're seeing these patterns emerge more and more. And it's like it's getting to a point where when are we going to wake up and really feel and see and realize that a lot of these people are not passing by, and I'm just going to put that out there, they're not passing out of natural causes or because they are suicidal. Even that famous actor, Robin Williams, I believe that was his name, the comedian, Nano, the one that did Miss Doubtfire, that he was suicidal. Who would have thought that Robin Williams was suicidal? So I'm not trying to use name drop, but I'm trying to give you an example that a lot of this is done by and I hate to say it like this, but a lot of it is other people at work to basically write off an individual or kind of help them, be erased from their profession. That's the best way I can put it. Like, I can't say, come out and say, well, their record company, wanted to annihilate them. But really and truly, we're entering a period where you're starting to see more and more that these patterns of these suicides. Prince, before he passed, days before, he also said something like Avicii said, and he said that he felt like, he was that somebody was after him, trying to get him or trying to kill him. He felt it, and on his Instagram, he had like a cryptic type of photo post, or a lot of you that don't know about that, about Prince, that he had posted like a message. It was cryptic, like he felt like somebody was going to try to kill him. And then, we hear about his passing, and then all of a sudden, they did an investigation, and the media said, that they found that he would have substance abuse problems, and, they make it, a lot of these record companies, a lot of these people who manage these artists, they have the power to pay people off. They can pay the press and the media to put whatever story, because, that they want the public to basically eat up and believe, because again, they are in control. They have that kind of power, and money talks. It's a shame that our industry and our world is like that. But when I tune into Avicii, I don't feel like he committed suicide. I have to be honest. I really don't. I do feel he had a lot of existing issues, but he didn't. Another artist that reminds me of this is Amy Winehouse, and she passed, before her time. But again, I do not feel that in any of these celebrity cases that they naturally passed or it was a suicidal attempt. I feel like they had help. There was a hand, a powerful hand at play here that made it look like a suicide, but it was far from being a suicide. And isn't it funny, like, if you really look at this whole situation where Avicii was by himself when they found him, or when they came in and they found his body, and supposedly he was by himself. Whitney Houston, she was in a tub by herself. Michael Jackson, he was in the room and the doctor was there, or he came in later. And then also with Prince, they found him, so like, if you look at all of this, it's like a pattern, over and over. And what I feel like is like the media, the power at hand, the people that are responsible for these young artists' passings, they go months before and they feed the media, stories about their own artist that is propaganda and that is negative, to kind of ruin their career, ruin who they are, kind of like shatter their image. And a lot of people will be listening to me and listening to this video about, what I'm picking up, and try to say, well, I'm turning more into the conspiracy side, rather than providing insight from a psychic perspective. But I am providing psychic, insight from a psychic perspective, because you have to be awoken spiritually to really realize what is going on in Hollywood, what's going on in the world. It's not everything that you see in the media or newspaper is not what it seems. Everything is manipulated, everything is twisted. There's a lot of lies. You cannot believe anything that is on the media. So no, I do not believe that he committed suicide. I do not believe, when I pick up on his soul and his soul energy, no. And I just keep seeing visions that this was someone else that took his life, basically, and was responsible for this. And they have their own reasons. Like I said, when a person of that stature and that celebrity is worth so much, and they retain, attain so much of a certain amount of fame, and they've, contributed years to the industry, what happens is that the people at play, this powerful hand that is, that tries to play destiny or God or fates, they come in and they try to ruin this person's career. It's almost like it's a very sick and twisted way of doing things, but you would be surprised. It's almost like they build this artist up when they first sign them on, and they get them, to be have a certain amount of success and millions of dollars of record sales and whatnot, and all this, global success. They become this phenomenon. And then after, a while, after they start not selling, there's a new artist perhaps that's replacing them that the industry brought in, new producers. Then they start to try to tarnish that person's reputation and their life, doing self-sabotaging them, sabotaging their performances. Like we look at Mariah Carey and the New Year's, thing, that was a sabotage on her career as well. So there's a lot of artists today that are in danger. There's a lot of artists out there that these people at hand are, like I said, they're trying to play God and trying to play the fates. They're tempting with, and they're taking action and judging people and finishing them, killing them basically, for the sake of, of making more money off of them as they pass. Because when they pass, then they start selling all these media, their records go on sale. They want to do movies about them, autobiographical. They bring in their families, and they start just bringing a lot of more attention, and they bring a whole chunk of change, from them. And then they end up passing, mysteriously. It was a suicide. It was a, an accident, like they did with Aaliyah, and they did with T-Boss from, TLC, the group TLC. None of those passings, like Aaliyah, she was at the prime of her life. That plane crash, and that's in another video. I'll cover her, I'll do a video about Aaliyah's passing. But no, that was not natural. That was all orchestrated. Every passing that you're seeing here, there may be some that were natural, but it's very rare that happens. It's like I said, people that are in power and control, trying to play God and take lives. But with Avicii, he had several things going on. I pick up that his mom, there was a strong female figure. I believe he was kind of close with his mom, but I do get that there was an elderly female figure that was alive, and that was trying to get him to, stay away from drinking, drugs, and everything that would be considered negative, or not, help him with his health. And he did listen, and I feel like he wanted to pull away from the DJing and everything, because he also felt like, it wasn't a good environment for him. He wanted to really go into other areas and, start maybe his own business, making money, opening up his own business, or doing other things, like managing other, DJs and stuff like that, and producing music for other artists. So he wanted to do things, but on a smaller level, and get away from that. So I don't feel like justice will be served. If you've noticed how they've automatically ruled it in the social media, and the police, in Oman or wherever he passed, in that area, in that city, they ruled it as it was a suicide. So I don't feel like justice is being made, but in some way, karmically, the people that are responsible for his passing, if they are listening to this video and they do hear this message, they will be held accountable, because ultimately when you start playing God and fate, start playing God and trying to take people out before their time, the universe, always holds you accountable. If it's not in this lifetime, it will be when they pass. But, that is the message that I'm getting that from his soul, is that he doesn't worry. He doesn't want his family to worry right now. He has crossed over. He is in peace. He is in heaven. I do feel like he's in a process of an adjustment, his soul, wanting to really interpret and understand, what happened, what were the events, and he finally understands, a lot of this that's going on, but he doesn't want his fans to be upset or angry at, his management team or the people that were responsible for this. I do feel that there is going to be, though, some kind of investigation done at the request of his family to look into this further, and they owe it to them to look into this further. But there's a lot of things I'm hearing at the crime scene. I call it a crime scene because, again, this to me was like a homicide. It was murder. But I do get that there is something there in the crime scene that would provide evidential information to the family. If they look at, security footage and video footage, they may get a lead there. But again, I do not feel that he left by his own free will from Earth. Yes, he was depressed. Yes, he did have a lot of, negative thoughts. His health wasn't in the best thing, but he wanted to live. There was a sense of, and this was the whole part, and even a week before his passing, people that were his friends and people that saw him, they saw like this positive energy, this turnaround. But his soul knew that this was going to happen, that he was going to die and basically pass before his time. And I keep saying before his time because, again, this is his, even though it wasn't his soul contract for him to pass it, and he accepted this passing, whether it was a murder or whether, it's all pre-written. When we come into this world and we pass, however we pass, or whoever is responsible for our passing, we have, accepted it for a reason or for a purpose. And so his soul intuitively knew that he was exiting. And I do feel like he did accomplish what he was sent here to Earth to accomplish in the 28 years, I believe that's how old he was, of his time here on Earth. The people that he impacted through his DJing, through his music, the people, the connections he made, the friendships, everyone benefited from him, and he benefited from some of these people. But again, I don't feel like this was a natural passing, and I don't get that justice will be served because they've covered it up so well to make it look like he was suicidal. But for those of us that were his fans and are his fans still, and for those of us that are spiritually awakened and know the truth of what is happening here, we know that this is all a lie and fabrications of the media, of the people who were in control of his career or that were influences in the music industry. There's a lot of jealousy and rivalry. It doesn't have to necessarily come from a record company, I'm just putting that out there, or from the people that manage these artists. It can be from another artist, who is a DJ, or a person who I feel like he did burn some bridges in his short time. But being a producer and a DJ, I do feel like there were certain, he did have some enemies. He did have, some disagreements, but he was going into a new direction, and there was a lot of other things that are going on. I also pick up that through his passing, there is going to be eventually like either a movie or something done, like a tribute to him. This could be a tribute on TV. Or a short film, but there will be something that continues. And I do feel like there was a female that he impacted. This could have been like a mentor type of situation, and that she is out there and was like very close to him, and that he kind of impacted her life, and that she's gonna kind of take over and kind of fall into the DJ realm, like producing, writing music, the things that he was doing. Basically, she's going to take that initiative. There's a lot of healing, though, and a lot of emptiness and void right now in his family, and my heart goes out to them. But I do hope that his family does push for further investigation, and I do hope that they retrace his steps, the hours leading up to his passing, because again, none of this was natural. That's the only thing I can say. And I'm going to be playing a clip at the very end of this video from Cardi B. And the reason that I bring up Cardi B, and I'll do another video separately on her, and I want to post this snippet of this video, was that she recently came onto social media, onto her Instagram, I believe, and it was on YouTube, and she stated on there, and it was like, she kept saying, if something happens to me, I want you all to know that it was not me that passed. If I die, I want you to know that it wasn't me that caused it. You know, I want you to know. And she goes on to talk about the government and to talk about you know, the foods that we eat, and how a lot of the sicknesses that we have in America, and the reason we're so obese, the leading country, you know, or one of the leading countries in obesity, is because of the things that are being put in the foods, you know, in our vegetables and fruits, you know. And I'll just say this, you know, and I know it's a little off topic and a little random, you know, not pertaining to the video, but I want to put Cardi B's video and insert that clip so that you can see it. But one of the reasons that I'm bringing this up is because I recently, you know, went grocery shopping, and I was in the produce aisle, and when I was picking up some grapes and some lemons, you know, these lemons were not normal lemon size. They were like grapefruits, and the grapes that were, you know, they were like very plump. I mean, they were almost the size of a golf ball. I mean, like, you know, if you don't, I guess if you're not spiritually woken, you wouldn't realize it, but a lot of these chemicals that they're injecting to make these super fruits and these super vegetables, you know, bigger, and it's not organic and it's not healthy. So unless you grow your own food, and, you know, or you really go to a trusted food market where there's farmers that, you know, make their own food, you know, and bring it, you really can't trust what's being given to you out there. But I want to thank you so much for, you know, listening to what I had to say. I delivered the messages in the celebrity mediumship reading, you know, about Avicii, and my heart goes out to him. He is watching, you know, his fans, and he wants them to know the message that he loves them. And he's very grateful for the time that he was here, and the time that he's had for his music, and, you know, and his artistry, and for people to remember him on that. And I just have goosebumps, you know, even reading, you know, channeling this energy and this information. I have goosebumps. But I want to thank you so much again. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments that you know, that you'd like to make as far as your thoughts and opinions on his passing, or other artists that perhaps you want me, or other people in Hollywood that you want me to do a psychic reading on, please comment below. Again, this is my full respect goes out to his family. By no means do I mean any disrespect. They need healing, and I feel like these messages, if they do come across to his family, they may give them some peace and a better understanding of what actually transpired. But you know, this is not meant to hurt anyone, but just to provide my own psychic insight and opinions, as we are all entitled to our own opinions and our psychic insight if we have abilities. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Blessings and love and light to each of you.
To the islands, because I'm starting to notice something, like, you know what I'm saying? And if something happened to me, just know that the government try to kill me, because I'm just being real. Like all right, like when my dad turned 60, I am making him move to the Dominican Republic.